Everything in this world starts with yourself. You are the one who make some sense out of the environment you exist. You have your subjective experience that you build during your lifetime, and you always have this clashes between your subjective experience and the objective reality of the outside. The older you are, the more you begin to realize that you need to readjust your subjective experience to objective reality. But for this, you have to fully understand your own subjective experience. What exactly is your subjective experience? You start observing yourself, you begin to understand what exactly you need from life, what exactly you need from yourself. You have to always ask yourself these questions because you have to know yourself. If you don't know yourself, then how are you supposed to understand objective reality of the outside? You have to see yourself as a certain mechanism through which you observe the reality, through which you observe the world and making some sense out of this world. The more knowledge you have, the more books you read, the more angles you can recognize in the objective reality of the outside. You cannot change objective reality. It's there and it always will be there. What you can change, your attitude toward that reality. But for this, again, you have to work at your subjective experience. If your subjective experience rooted deeply in your emotions, in your feelings, then you substitute your intelligent perception with emotions. And it's not good because your emotions are unstable. Now you feel this way, tomorrow you might feel another way, while your intelligent perception of yourself is more concrete. Because when you perceive yourself from intelligent angle, what you do, you try to build a model of yourself. And then you build model of yourself outside the world. And you try to see how those models work with each other. For example, when you by yourself, you are one person. When you're with somebody else, you are another person. Depends with whom you communicate at that moment. That's why solitude is important, because in solitude you can actually reveal to yourself who you really are, because we're all wearing persona. Persona, I think from Greek, is the mask. It's the mask we wear with other people. You don't have to wear the mask when you're with yourself. The problem is a lot of people, when they stay on their own, when they spend a lot of time in solitude, listening their own thoughts, they suddenly realize there's nobody underneath the mask. And that's what terrified them, because once you take your mask off, you realize there's empty spot, because you never develop your own personality. You always wore personalities of others, more convenient personalities for certain people, for certain places, for a certain time. You forgot to develop your own personality. You forgot to develop your own agency. And that's why a lot of us terrify to stay on their own with their own thoughts, because once you stay with your own thoughts, all pretense is over, and you start understanding truth about yourself. With outside, it's a little bit different, because we always need a crowd around us. Once you have a crowd, you don't hear yourself. In some sense, you drown in these thoughts, these strange thoughts that point at something at you with the noise of the crowd around you, of the mob that doesn't care. And I don't think you are able to develop a proper way of understanding the world if you never understood yourself. once you understood yourself, the understanding of the world start emerging. Because the world as itself doesn't exist. It only exists through your own perception. And your own perception color the world with your understanding. Because every person on this planet has their own perception of the world based on their subjective experience with this world, and their subjective experience based on their objective basic on how deeply or how well their subjective experience align with the objective reality they constantly coexist with. Because if you so separate from objective reality and trap yourself inside your subjective experience filled with feelings and emotions, it's really hard to survive, because you're going to be constantly in struggle for what is right and what is wrong. And you can be easily manipulated, because if you constantly rely on your emotions, if you constantly rely on your feelings, then that somebody can easily manipulate with that. Because feelings, you need to always use intelligence. Why? Because all informations that come into you from the outside world must be properly digested. And you're supposed to learn how to separate good information from bad information. And then again, who's the one who does separation? It's you. And to be able to do this, you have to again learn about yourself. Because everything what comes from the outside world comes through you and trap inside of you. And the more you know yourself, the better you are capable to select this information. And once you learn how to do that, you start seeing the world as a giant map with a good, proper navigation. It helps you to make right decision. You have to have wisdom, and you also have to have strength to act upon this wisdom. Otherwise, even if you know certain things are right, but if you don't have enough wisdom to be able to explain yourself why those things are right, or don't have enough intelligence to reason with those things, you more than likely you're not going to act upon those things that seems right to you. That's what emotions are the problem. Emotions are good in a certain way, like in a certain part of life, like art or passion. All of these things, yes, but when you try to go through life using mostly emotions, you're always gonna lose. Because the entire world is kind of information. It's just a small units of information all around you. And what you do, you have to properly select, okay, what information can be useful for me and what information is not useful for me. What information I can use and what information I'd better stay away from. Because you always have to be very careful what you consume. The problem with the modern world is consuming of information that is bad for you. We consume literally everything. We have no discrimination in what we consume online. We go on TikTok and we let algorithm to decide what information we will consume today. And the problem with this, it's hijack our perception of reality by subverting our subjective experience at the moment when we see certain videos. Because you feel good. You wake up in the morning, you feel good, it's sunny day outside. Then you go online, an algorithm fed you something bad, something horrible. And suddenly your subjective experience changes and you see objective reality outside the window in much more threatening colors. It's still the same reality, but your perception changed. Your lens got tinted slightly by the dark colors, and you suddenly perceive reality incorrectly. And maybe not even incorrectly, maybe you just perceive reality the way you got influenced by the video you watched online. That's why. And again, you don't have to be blind completely to disregard certain things from the world. Like, I'm not telling that we should disregard completely bad things. No, we have to consume them in moderation, because bad things teaches us about certain things that must be really handy to protect ourselves and to be able to judge certain things in a proper way. But when you consume too many bad things, it changes your perception of reality so drastically that you get depressed inside of your subjective experience, because you believe the objective reality of the outside is completely against you, and you don't know how to get the hell out of there. And that's why you have to always focus on how you perceive reality, how you perceive your subjective experience, because you literally can change your attitude toward everything, because it's all about your attitude. 99% of the things in the world cannot hurt you. What can hurt is your attitude toward these things, because otherwise, for example, if you control information, and if you very selective of what you consuming, it can be literally about everything. It can be about food. You have to consume good food. Try to avoid sugar or soda drink or junk food. You consume much more healthy food. What it gives you more energy. It gives you much more healthy way of living. Then, for example, you consume healthy information that teaches you something, that gives you different angles of perception of the same problem. And once you learn to consume proper information, your worldview switched a little bit, and you suddenly become more confident about yourself and your perception of reality, because your subjective experience suddenly become more confident, and you feel more confident with objective reality of the outside. You don't jump into conclusion too fast, and that's how you learn. But all of it only possible if we know ourselves. Everything is possible only when you learn, when you know yourself, because whatever you see, whatever you try to understand, everything goes through you, through your brain, through your perception, through your personality. Your life is inside of you, and the way how you see the world is what is outside. And the way we have to work to create a map, our personal map, with the proper navigation of this world. Once you start creating this map, right, everything becomes much more simpler. And you suddenly realize, okay, that's why I feel depressed, that's why I feel sad, that's where I feel tragic, that's that. You analyze your feelings and you try to position yourself and look at your feelings from the outside, to look at your pains from the outside, to look at your tragedies from the outside, and suddenly realize, okay, I can overcome this, I can change this, and I can find the right direction toward what I want. But for this, you have to know what you want. Otherwise, you're supposed to know what you want, and to know what you want, you have to know yourself.